Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name's Bobby Egan. Today, we're going to be doing project number 4 of our GIMP workshop series. And we're going to do a simple animation using a downloadable image that can be found on sitenf.org. If you don't already have it, you can download it there. And we're going to take elements from that image and create an animation using the GIMP workshop platform. If you have not familiarize yourself with all the features that GIMP has to offer, there's another video that you can look at, as well as going online and finding all the basic things you need to know. I will go through this step by step, and you can follow along and pause where you need to. Because it's a video recording, you can go back to it and refer back to areas that you cannot follow while we're doing the class. So here we go. Welcome, and I'm going to pick screen sharing right now and go to the GIMP workspace. Here's our GIMP workspace, and we're going to start our animation project today by opening the first file. We're going to go to up here along the image menu. We're going to go to open. We're going to find our file. If you haven't downloaded it yet, it's ladybug-30A215_1920 JPEG. You can find it on sitenf.org. If you haven't already downloaded it, that's the file that we're going to be using for this project. So you're going to find that file if you downloaded it to your desktop, wherever you located it, and then you can click open. So here is our picture, and the first thing that we need to do with it is we're going to go down to this icon here. It's create a duplicate of the layer and add to the selection. So we're going to do that. And we're going to name this layer flower. Okay, we named it flower. And the second thing we want to do with it is we want to isolate the ladybug out of this picture so that we can use it for our animation. So I'm going to take the zoom tool and I'm going to drag my mouse across the ladybug to get a real close-up of it. And then I'm going to select my paths tool, which is right here. And if you see the tool options, which I placed over here, there's design, edit, and move. I'm going to be toggling back and forth between design and edit to get a good path for this ladybug. You can start anywhere and just kind of connect the dots, just go around it. Don't worry about being too precise right now because we'll fine tune it in a minute. Basically just following around the shape. And then I'm going to close my loop by holding down the Command Control key and selecting that. So I'm going to be going into my edit tool. Just go up here under tool options, paths, and I'm going to take edit. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull out around the curves. What it does is it creates these handles. So if I pull it out, I'm following the shape of the curve. If I want to make adjustments, I can do that with these handles. You can just pull them out. And I'm going to go all the way around the ladybug until I've completed my outline. The nice thing about this ladybug shape is that it's mostly a rounded curved shape, so it's easy to adapt to. So you can see I'm just see here's like a little high point. I'm going to bring my curve right up to that. And I'm going to bring my curve right up to the high point here. And make some adjustments. Now, okay, I've gone all the way around, but this is really fine detail. So I'm going to I'm going to go down here and increase it to around 400%. I'm going to use these handles to get my close-up image inside my picture window, my image window here. And I'm going to continue. You see this can come out a little bit more. Maybe this is a little bit less. I'm just going to keep playing with this until I'm happy with the shape that I've created. When I get to a point where I need to move the control, the point, I can switch to design. I can switch back and forth pretty easily. There's a keyboard command for it too. Okay, so when you're satisfied that you've done everything that you wanted to do, here I can see like I could come out here a little bit more right here. I can zoom out. I was at around 50%. So you can see I have all of these little dots around them. I just created my path in the flower layer. So I want to click on return to make the selection active. And I'm just going to hit the move tool to get rid of the dots that show up on the screen. Now, the next thing I wanted to do was to create a background color here that I can use to isolate my next flower. So I have that. I'm going to take my color picker tool, which is right above the zoom tool. I'm going to select that. And I'm in my flower layer. I'm just going to click on an area on the screen. And that is going to be my background. I'm going to switch it. You can see I'm switching it right here. This is the background color. So when I cut this out of the window, it's going to leave a blue shape. So I'm going to go up now to edit, and the Command X is cut. And you can see that it left a shape. So I'm going to say select none. So now I have my layer no longer has a ladybug in it. So then I'm going to go back up to my edit tool, edit menu, and I'm going to say paste, which is Command Control V. And now I have a ladybug image as another layer. So I'm going to go down here where I have it's outlined in green, and I'm going to say create a new layer and add to the image. So now I have it's called pasted layer, and I'm just going to I'm going to double click on that and name it Ladybug. Okay, you can also, for the moment, let's do this while we're doing this. I'm going to go to my scale tool, and in my Ladybug layer, I'm going to reduce it. I have inches. I'm going to do percentages. So it's in the default is pixels. I'm going to click percent, and I'm going to hit 75. And that's going to be close enough, 74.93. I'm going to say scale. So now that's the size of my ladybug. In the ladybug layer, we can select filter, lighten shadow, drop shadow. And we can modify it with changes here if we want to. We can make the opacity, we can bring it up to 75. Can make it a little bit Change the radius. We can change the position. If you want to change the position here, doing one at a time, you can do that as well. The opacity, grow radius, you can change that. If you want it to get bigger or smaller. We'll do split view, where you can see what you're doing on one side, see how it's looking on the other. Make it a little darker, maybe like that. Looks like about one. Click OK. So now we have our ladybug that has a drop shadow on it, and it's reduced to 75%. So now we can use that ladybug for our project. That means I'm just going to turn that off, go into my flower layer, and I'm going to go up to my scissors select tool. I'm just really quickly going to go around this flower here. And what this is just doing is the scissor tool kind of picks the outlines of the area. I completely pick the flower, and I'm going to press return, enter to select it. And I'm going to go to edit. This time I'm going to copy it. I'm going to copy. And then I am going to paste it. And I want to move it. So, but before I do that, I have to accept it, create a new layer, and add it to the image. So now I have a pasted layer, and that is called flower single. You can name it whatever you want. I'm just trying to keep it easy to look at. In the move tool in layers, move the active layer. There we go. Okay, you can see, but when I moved it, that there's some of the other colors showing through. So what I want to do with this flower, the single flower, is I want to scale it a little bit. So I'm going to just click on the scale tool. I'm going to pull it out a little bit, and I'll accept that change, but I also think it should be rotated a little bit. I'm going to rotate it. When I'm happy with where it is, I can rotate it a little bit more until I like where I put it. Maybe I'll bring it up a little bit more this way. And okay, so I rotate. And I'm also going to put a drop shadow on that. Go to filters, light and shadow, drop shadow. I'm just going to accept the defaults because it looks nice. I'm going to click OK. So now I have a single flower and a flower layer, and what I want to do is merge them together. So I'm going to, having this flower single selected, I'm going to go down to my icons down here and merge this layer with the first visible layer below it. You can see I've turned the ladybug off. I turned my original image off. So I'm going to merge. Now I have a merged image with that spot covered. And now I have a ladybug image also. Which I'm going to move down here. Okay, so we have our two elements are ready to go. I have the flower layer here, and I have the ladybug flower. So we're going to now make duplicate copies of these layers. So if you go into your flower layer and you're going to duplicate layer, you're going to repeat the flower layer, let's say 13 or 14 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so now we have just created 14 layers of the flower copy. Now we have our ladybug copy here, which we need one for each one of these. So you can also, you can start from the top or go to the bottom, but we have a ladybug here. Let's bring it all the way down. So we're going to bring our ladybug down. You can use this icon here to drop it all the way to the bottom. Okay, I've lowered the ladybug to the bottom. I'm just going to bring it up one because I want it to be above this. So we have our first ladybug and our flower. We want the ladybug to be above the flower so we can see it. So we're going to have that layer here. So we have our ladybug. And we have all of these other layers. We need to turn off these icons so we can see what we're doing. So turn off all of the eyes. And we're going to go through this process one at a time. So now you can see our first ladybug. That's the position I put it in, and it's above my flower layer, my first flower layer. So I need to make a duplicate of that ladybug layer, duplicate it, and I'm going to need to bring it up to the next one. I'm going to bring all of my copies above. I'm going to keep duplicating it and bringing it in between. So I'm going to have a ladybug and a flower all the way up until I'm finished. Whoops, see how that went too far? I'm going to pull it back down. I'm just dragging this up with my mouse too. Looks like I ran out. I have an extra one, so I don't need that one. So what we need to do now is we need to position these. We have our first ladybug here, and we need to make our second one. We need to move it. So if you have to, let's see, how can we do this? Go to this ladybug, and you can see it here. You need to move it. There we go. So you're going to move it, and then you can rotate it. So go to the rotate tool. You can adjust it. If you want to move it some more, go back to the move tool. And that's how you're going to follow this across. You're going to make this pattern across. So for each ladybug now, you have the second one here. And then you're going to go to the next one. Ladybug copy here. You can see that your copy is located right here because it has a square around it. You're going to pull it out. That's your third. You're going to repeat the rotation. You're going to repeat rotate and move to get it into the position that you want it. You're going to keep doing that for the rest of these. So you go to the next ladybug, see the square around it. You're going to go to your move tool, pull it out, rotate it, you can position it more wherever you want it. Go to the next one, pull it out, rotate it, keep rotating and moving to get to what you like. If you find that your window is not in sight anymore here, you can pull this bar up to get more. Here's your next one. You notice that all of your flower copies are not visible. That's so we can see what we're doing with only one flower background. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see the steps. Put this over here. Next. So it's a repetitive process. We're going to keep going through this until we have completed all of our steps. So we have about 4 more. So I'm probably going to like finish it up around here somewhere. So we're going to keep on going until we're finished. You can use your eye if you think you can just play with it. If you feel, rather than being in a straight line, maybe the angle should be a little bit higher, lower, or whatever. But just keep continuing until you run out of ladybugs. And you can make those adjustments as you go. You can also go back and make an adjustment if you see something that you don't like, you can go back and change it later as well. But that's the process. Basically, it's very repetitive, but it's required in order to create the animation because you need to have steps. Here's my last ladybug. And that completes the rounds of ladybugs and flower layers. Now what we need to do, we can turn off we need to merge the 2 layers together to create our animation. So I'm turning all of my visual icons off. And I'm going to go all the way down to the first 2 where I have this ladybug here and this flower. And what we want to do is merge the 2 visible into one image. So I'm going to take the first ladybug, and I'm going to merge the layer. I'm going to take the second layer, ladybug. You have to make them visible though. And I'm going to merge that layer. And then I'm going to continue doing this all the way up to the top, clicking on the ladybug copy, making sure that they're both visible and merging them together. The ladybug copy would be above the layer below it, and it's going to merge until we have merged all of our layers together. Make sure you have that selected. Merge. Ladybug copy. Turn the eyes on. Have the ladybug copy selected, and you're merging it to the flower copy below. Here's my last one. Once you've done this, you can't make any changes to the ladybugs because they've been merged. So make sure that you like what you have done before you merge them. Okay, so now we have 13 copies in the original flowers. So that's technically 14 or 15 copies. And we have our ladybug original file, which technically we don't really need, so we can just delete that. So now we have all of our flower copies and all of our layers. You can turn all the icons back on. You're not going to see them because they're on top of each other, but they're all there. So now we have, that completes our ladybug file. So we want to save it. You're going to save it. You don't have to use the original name. You can take any name you want. I've done this a few times, so I'm going to name it Ladybug Animation number 3.xcf is the GIMP extension that you use when you want to keep the layers together. I have it put in a project folder. You can put it wherever you want on your desktop. And then I'm going to click Save. So here's my saved file, but it's not an animation yet. It's just a group of layers. So in order to create the animation, I have to go to Export. And Ladybug Animation 3 Pang, we don't want a Pang file, so we want to select a file type by extension. What we want is a GIF file, so GIF is a GIF file extension. And I'm going to try GIF image, and maybe that's not the right thing, but we'll try that first and see how that works. So the image you are trying to export as a GIF contains layers which extend beyond the actual borders. That's because our ladybug is off the top and the bottom. So I'm just going to say crop. I want to make sure export image as GIF that I have checked off as animation, and also check off loop forever, so it just keeps going around and around and around. And then I want to say export. So that's going to create a an animated GIF file for me, and it's exporting. Okay, so I have still my layer. All of my XCF files has all of my different layers here. I want to go to I want to go to open, and I have animation 3 GIF. I'm going to open that, the file we just created, and it's opening up all my frames. You can see that my animation now has changed. You can see the difference between my XCF file says flower copy, and my animation GIF file has frames instead, and it's at 100 milliseconds, and that was the default that I just kept. So now we need to go to filters, go down to animation, and go to playback. So that created an animation file which is too big for my screen, so I'm going to reduce it to 51% so I can see it. And I have cumulative layers combined selected. There's 3 choices, or 2 choices, 1 frame per layer replace. I have them combined, so that's the one I want to use. And the next toggle is frame speed. It's 1x. I think that's a little fast, so I made it 0.5x. 10 frames per second is fine, and 50% is my view. So up at the top left-hand corner, it says animation play. I'm going to hit the play button to start playback. And then you can see my ladybug now is animated and going across the screen. And it's in a continuous loop, so it keeps coming around and around and around and again. And that's how you create a simple animation in GIMP. You can stop it. And I'm going to go back to, I'm going to end screen sharing for now, and I'm going to go back to Zoom and conclude this workshop. Thanks. Thank you all for joining us today. I hope you got a lot out of this project. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot of steps, but once you have the steps, they're pretty repetitive, so you can keep doing them over and over again until you finally get the image animation that you like, and then you can have fun and play with it. Thanks a lot for joining us today. Have a great day.